Please like and subscribe to this podcast. And if you like what we're doing, leave us a good review or even share with somebody else. It helps us reach as many people as possible.
The drinking is the solution for the drinker. It's not the problem for the drinker, and you have to protect that because it transforms how you feel about yourself.
Hello there, welcome back to the Bottle Up podcast. I'm Lou.
Hi, I'm John.
And the title of the podcast today, one of the most important things that you'll ever hear, is Stop Doing Things That Don't Work. Now, talking to people who live with or in relationship with a drinker. And I'm just about to share 20 years worth of agony in about half an hour. Because living with a drinker, now I stayed, with obviously a lot of misgivings, but I stayed because I loved my drinker and my drinker loved me. He was a binge drinker, and in between the bingings, we had a good life together. I was a singer-songwriter. He was my manager. We travelled all over the UK and went abroad and all of these things. So we had very functional bits. And then we had these bits that completely went into dysfunction. Now, and when you live with somebody and they love you, what you do if something isn't working, you sit them down, you say, this isn't working. And because that person loves you, they genuinely make an effort to stop what they're doing. And this just didn't happen. But I'm a resourceful person and I was training to be a counsellor. So I came at it about 3 or 4 ways. And this is what we call the 4 Ps.
Yeah.
And there were emotions behind that. There was the anger, then there was the anxiety, and then there was the pain. And it was the Court of Appeal. And, I kept getting my husband to come to the Court of Appeal and he would stand in the dock.
Yeah.
But he would never actually listen to the appeal. And so that really, I struggled with that. Yeah. And I felt guilty. And he felt guilty because at any other time in your marriage, if you actually either get angry or you say you're afraid or you say you're in pain, then usually that behavior is addressed. But actually, when I began to realize what was going on, the behavior got worse. So we're going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about these 4 Ps. And we used to do this as a drama, didn't we, when we did conferences? Yeah. There was a script where I would talk about what was going on. Then I'd look at the drinker who was standing on the opposite side, and he would respond to what I was doing. And he's going to actually do that script.
I'm going to be in the dock.
Yes, he's going to be in the dock, and he's going to be the drinker responding to what's going on.
I have to say that the response of the drinker, we have talked about, protecting the drink, protecting our egos, and it comes from that.
So we're going to do these 4 Ps one by one, and the first one is picking a fight. First really important thing, and we want to say this in big capital letters, we'll probably put it in the notes of the podcast, never argue with a drunk. This is really, really important. Things will escalate very, very quickly. You won't win it, but you might end up provoking something much more. I think that certainly for my husband, there was a lot of repressed anger in what was going on inside of him. And so when those inhibitors came down, when he was drinking, that anger would come up like a volcano. And that is really quite common. So don't argue with a drunk. And I want to get that in there first because that's really important. Yeah. What I found myself doing was beginning to realize what was going on. And I would start with remonstrating, I'd start with remonstrating, and then there would be the denial. They would talk about, no, don't be so silly, it isn't going on. And so I would get more agitated, and so I'd remonstrate for some more. And so we'd end up, it didn't always then be about the drink. Sometimes it would be about something else that would be plucked out of the blue. Yeah. But we'd end up in a full-scale argument. So what would the drunk say at this point on the other side of our stage?
Okay, this is from our book, Bottled Up. And this is the view of the drinker to picking a fight. Sometimes my wife will pick a fight. She'll draw herself up to her full height, and then she'll add a few inches by standing on her moral high ground. She'll fix me with that look specially designed for naughty children, bad smells, and drunken husbands. Then she will start reciting her list of my faults and wrongdoings. Usually it will start with her in control, barely, but her voice will get louder and more strident as our conversation progresses. When she starts out, I will sometimes, but not often, feel she has a point. And if she would stop there, I would probably say, okay, fair point. But it never does stop there, as she wants to bring up obscure incidents from years ago. So now I need to defend myself. The Geneva Convention is ripped up, and she does not seem to agree that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Her voice will go up a couple of octaves. I will join in. Now, neither of us is listening. We're both talking very loudly. It's time to play my trump card. I shout, must get the tone right, that I'm misunderstood, or some other phrase that suggests that I'm the wrong party. I now have two exit strategies, both rather effective, even though I say so myself. The first is to suggest that I have been wrongly accused of drinking too much, being an alcoholic, or something else about my drinking. Then, in a very wounded manner, I sweep out saying, well, I might as well do what I've been accused of. I like that exit. Very melodramatic. It completely wrong-foots her, and she keeps falling for it. If I can keep her guilt levels up, then maybe she might back off. The other exit is to sweep out looking very pained and sad, saying either, I can't reason with you when you're like that, or you just don't understand me. This one completely removes the initiative from her and gives me ammunition about how neurotic she is, ready for the next fight. And there'll be another fight. You can count on it. In fact, sometimes the easiest way for me to get out for a drink is to pick a fight and storm out. I don't think she's realised that yet. At least I hope she hasn't.
Thank you. And of course, I started off on the other side of this, really feeling that I had a right to be angry. I started the dance, but somewhere in the middle, you started leading the dance again.
Yeah.
So I hope that gives some insight into kind of what might be going on in your drinker there. That led us on to the next P, which is punishing. And punishing is the next level of anger, which comes in quite, it's the next escalation, if you like, of picking a fight, is punishing and withdrawing. And that's what I used to do. So I went from being over loud to just trying not to turn up at all. And this would take longer. I'd usually patiently explain for a few minutes exactly why I was doing it. And then I would withhold my presence. I would withhold my care. I would sometimes withhold my body, the different ways, as if it was a strategy. It wasn't a strategy. It was actually a reaction to the awful pain that I was feeling. But it was a strategy emotionally, again, to try and get you to realize what you were doing and the impact it was having upon me. That was the cry of my heart all the time. Can't you see what you're doing to me? Can't you see what you're doing to the children? So that punishment, again, would involve, because when you were drinking and having the argument, I couldn't get my point across. When you were less drunk, then the punishing and the talking and the coldness and the anger, I felt was much more powerful, and that you could hear more. Did you hear more?
No. The view of the drinker. The silent treatment. I hate it. But I suppose you just have to accept it as one of the consequences of drinking. Hangover and, thankfully, silence. As they say, if you can't do the time, then don't do the crime. I thought she had a bit of a point at the beginning. Okay, I admit I got drunk, made a fool of myself, and you, and therefore I deserve the disapproval. But now she goes on a bit. I expect it now. No sex, no cuddles, no meals. It used to make me feel a bit guilty, but now I just feel that's another example of her unreasonable behaviour. I want to go out with my mates or have a drink in peace. Doesn't mean I don't love her, but oh no, off she goes like a martyr, dripping self-pity all over the place. I really hate that silent treatment. It makes me feel rejected. Well, I am being rejected and unloved. I mean, no wonder I drink. Do you see what I have to suffer? Anyone would drink in these circumstances.
The powerless and helplessness you feel when your words don't seem to arrive was really hard. And so I stopped talking and I started doing. Okay, if I can't get him to listen, then maybe I can control the amount of drink that comes into the house. And this leads us to the third P, which is done through anxiety, and that's policing. I didn't realize at the time that I was playing actually into his strength, because what would happen is we'd make an agreement about how much he was going to drink and we'd bring it into the house. But then I was used to the fact that there was the smell of drink in his on his breath. And so he could, I found out later, sneak other things in and drink them at the same time without me knowing. So I was actually making the situation worse. Now, what is really hard when you live with a drinker is you're constantly being told that your senses are not working properly, and no, they're not drinking, and no, you're not. You're making it up, or you're being paranoid, and so you think you're going mad. Actually, you genuinely think you're going mad. So in your head, you think, if I can find the bottle, then I can just with triumph and say, there you are, you see. So I became really good at it. I could tell you a clink of an opening bottle from about 300 yards. So I used to skulk. I mean, it's ridiculous looking back on it, but I used to skulk in cupboards and just wait for that moment where the bottle would come out of whatever hiding place it was in, and he'd pour it, and I could come in and I could triumphantly say, there you are. But it was as much for me as it was for him, because of the sense of madness that begins to grow in you. I have to say, if you're in that point, you will really recognize what I'm saying. What I did in the end is I began to believe myself rather than my drinker. And I began to regain the sense of believing my own senses. And so in the end, I said to my drinker, look, if it looks as if you're drinking and it smells as if you're drinking, I'm going to assume you're drinking. And if occasionally I get it wrong, then I want the other 374 times that you have drunk without telling me to be taken into account at that point. And that felt really powerful when I got that back. But actually trying to get the drinker to stop at that point, did my policing do any good?
No.
Why?
No, it didn't.
Why?
I wanted her to be my drinking companion. If only she would come to the pub, we could have fun together. Unfortunately, she did come to the pub, and it was miserable. Have you finished that drink already? You're not going to have another one, are you? We've been here for an hour. Can't we go home? It was awful. She was watching everything I did, every drink I bought or someone else bought for me. She hardly finished her one drink and just kept wanting to go home. I thought we might have had a bit of fun, but no. I got some booze to take home, and the first thing she said was, have you not had enough? You're not going to drink all that tonight, are you? I'm not going to take it again. I've told her loads of times that I only drink a couple of pints. She seemed to take that literally. A couple of pints means 2 pints. Now she realises that I drink much more than that. This is not good.
So I'm getting really desperate here. I've got mad, and that hasn't got me anywhere. I've tried to control what's going on, and that clearly isn't working. My heart is breaking. This is my partner who loves me. I know he loves me. I know that he adores me. I can't understand what's going on. I can't understand why it isn't working. I'm going to get him up, and I'm just going to be real. I'm going to show him my heart, which I've taken away a bit, but I'm going to let him know. I'm going to let him know how much I love him, and I'm just going to share my heart with him. And so I arrive at the final P, which is pleading. And so I sit you down at a time when actually things are going quite well. We've had quite a good day. There's no sign of drink. And I just sit you down and I tell you that I love you. I tell you how much joy you brought into my life. And then I break my heart a bit, just let you into the pain I feel and all the hurt. And I know you really love me. And I know if you could just hear how much I loved you, that you'd stop. If you really knew the pain that you were causing and what was happening to the children, because they're getting older and they're beginning to spot what's happening. And I know if I can just get into your heart, I know you'll respond this time. I know you will, because I'm absolutely certain that you love me. And in any other arena, you'll do anything for me. You've really proved this. So please, please, will you tell me this is going to work?
No. I hate it when she pleads. I can stand the arguments, the nagging, and the fights. They're not particularly pleasant, but it's what you expect. The pleading, though, that's different. It gets to me. It makes me feel really guilty. I don't want to hurt her. I mean, I married her because I loved her. Remember the vows? To cherish, to protect. Okay, maybe that wasn't what was said, but it's what I believe. I'm the man of the house. I'm the protector. I'm supposed to keep danger and hurt from my home. But it's me that's causing the hurt. I feel really bad, really inadequate. Not much of a man, am I? I really hate myself. I hate the drink. But the only thing that makes me feel better at these times is having a drink. I wish I wasn't hurting her, but I really don't want to hurt. And the drink is the only thing that takes it away.
And that day when he went down the pub again was the most painful. I remember going to the end of the garden and sobbing my heart up for hours because I'd come to the end of my tether and I just didn't know what to do. And it's a really, really scary moment. And what you're doing at that point is what is absolutely the right thing to do. You are not doing anything wrong, but what you don't realise is you're pushing the very button. So what's it about for you then? You've done it in script. So what are you doing?
Do you mean as a drinker?
Yeah. You're trying to protect yourself.
Yes, I am trying to protect myself. I'm trying to... There's a number of things that are going on here. I mean, if you've listened to any of our earlier podcasts, then you'll know that the drinking is the solution for the drinker. It's not the problem for the drinker. And I have to protect that because it transforms how you feel about yourself. So it's trying to hold on to that. But, the earlier ones, the picking a fight, the punishing, and, they are, as I say, they're difficult, but you can defend yourself against
the adversarial one.
Yeah. And the anger just kind of rises with both, particularly in the picking a fight. With the punishing ones, you just think, unreasonable. The policing one, that's that one's just rather difficult, but it feels like unreasonable behaviour. But the pleading one is the one that really hurts. Yeah. It really hurts. It gets actually to the shame and the guilt that the drinker feels anyway. It feels as if it just turns up the volume and the shame and the guilt. And as I described about why I had stopped drinking, I stopped drinking because I hated the person I had become. But it took a while to realise that it was really, the more I drank the alcohol, the more I became that person. But that bit in between, it felt as if the shame and the guilt was just being ramped right up. And it really wasn't helping. It really wasn't helping. I didn't need more of how bad I was. I needed more of how good I could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So I needed the hope.
Yeah, there will be so many people right now identifying with this podcast and painfully identifying with this podcast. You've not done a thing wrong, but stop doing it. Took me 20 years, more than 20 years, to realize that what would be true in every other situation in a loving relationship was making the situation worse. And it's hard to stop because it's almost as if then you think, am I permitting this? Whatever will happen if I stop doing these things, these are the only tools that I know. But actually there are other tools. And Bottled Up is kind of based on those. And we will be showing you a good way forward and how to bring interventions, but be very, very kind, because these are normal behaviors in a very, very abnormal situation. But do listen to what we've said. And when you find yourself doing it, just say, this is wasted energy. This is not going to work emotionally.
Yes, I think, these are natural behaviors. There are behaviors that in most situations would work, but they would work if you were talking to a rational person.
Yeah.
But you're not. You're talking to an addict. So you're not negotiating with a person. You're negotiating with an addiction. And because you're negotiating with an addiction, all the protection comes up, all the denial comes up. And because of that, then it becomes very difficult to actually reach the person underneath.
So let's do the takeaway points here, okay? Yeah. First thing, the things we do are natural, understandable, and in all other situations, probably very workable, but in the context of working with addiction, they don't seem to.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at social psychology, you would find all these kind of under negotiation, under socializing with other people. But, unfortunately, you're negotiating with somebody who's protecting the very behavior. And that makes it so difficult to reach. Yeah. So difficult to reach.
Absolutely. So don't punish yourself for falling back into old patterns and doing them again. And we will be showing you new patterns. One thing I would say, and you just kind of touched on that, we know very, very well in this society, because we're very emotionally literate, that affirmation is much, much more powerful than criticism. And all of those four were looking with criticism at what wasn't working. Because I think probably more and more you just felt that there was nothing worth living for. Every time I just tore you off a strip, your self-esteem must have just been more and more in tatters.
It was in tatters. And that's when the protection comes up, as soon as, and if you look at social psychology and somebody says, accuses, then you automatically defend. It just happens, you're stupid. No, I'm not. You're fat. No, I'm not. You're ugly. No, and so the barriers come up. And it's even more so because you're defending a substance that you feel you need to exist.
Yeah.
But again, these are natural behaviors. And even if you learn sort of with new behaviors, then you will find yourself falling back into old patterns. It just happens. But as Lou says, don't punish yourself for that. Don't punish yourself for it, because it's, again, that's natural as well.
Yeah. And we've kind of let you into the heart of the drinker a bit, which is very powerful. But again, be kind to yourself, because what they're doing would try the patience of a saint. And this is what you live with day in, day out.
Okay, well, that's the 4 Ps. So try to not pick a fight, to not punish, to not police, and to not plead. If they don't work, don't do them.
And please like and subscribe and join us again for our next podcast. It's been great to be with you. Bye.
Bye.